Hingað komin Dr. Margit Kennedy, hún nú kona með fjölbreytta reynslu, hún arkitekt, umhverfisfræðingur, en hennar aðalsvið greining á fjármálakerfum, þessum fjármálakerfum sem búum við, og hún hefur líka lagt fram tillögur eða að stúdera tillögur hvernig hægt að gera hlutina öðruvísi, fjármálakerfi sem ekki jafn grimmt, ekki jafn óumhverfisvænt og fleiri þindur. Welcome to Silver Age, Margit Kennedy. There is a presentation we would like to run through, and what this is basically about is that is the question: if money rules the world, then who rules money?
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes, that was a big question I had some 30 years ago, and when I discovered how money actually works, I got very infuriated, and I wrote a small book, which now has been translated into 23 languages, which tries to answer this question for everybody, so that everybody can understand it. That was my basic goal. And the first problem that I understood, which I had not understood before, was that that money is not what economists claim, neutral veil over the economy, but it is very much in favor of very few people. And what is this graph is showing, that is the German population in 10 equal parts, and that about 90%, 9% pay more interest than they get, and 10% get all that added to their income from interest. And interest is something that is of no relevance to economists anywhere, because they accept it as a given. It's part of our money system. It cannot be different.
Yes.
And that's what I think is the biggest problem we have right now, that people don't understand that interest is the invisible destruction mechanism in the world, and is at the basis of practically all the international problems with the financial sphere we have right now.
Okay.
And when I looked at this graph, and I saw that 90% pay on average twice as much interest in all the prices as they get back from their incomes from interest, life insurances, etc. And that 10% of the population get all that added to their income from interest, I immediately thought it is impossible to have democracy and this money system at the same time. Yes. And this is what we experience all over the world right now. We don't have democracies anymore. We have oligarchies of people who are... And it is something that even those who profit from the system don't really understand, because they don't understand why and how it is happening.
So money is constantly being transferred to the wealthy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Without us understanding it. And in Germany, for instance, it is, if you look at the net transfer every day, it is 600 million euros every day that is transferred from those who work for their money to those who let their money work for them. Yes. But have you ever seen money work? I haven't.
No.
Money can only be redistributed. It's people who work and machines that work, but money cannot work. And this is one of the... how can you say that? Not exactly lies, but one of the analogies that banks use to cover up the truth, I think.
Yes.
And there was when I gave this lecture in Argentina, there was a man from the central bank who had worked in the central bank for 37 years. And he came to me after the lecture and said, "Would you please say, when you give this lecture, that what use is the equal right before the law if we don't have an equal right before money?" And I can tell you this man knew what he was talking about.
Yes.
Really.
Yes, I would imagine.
You know. And so we could cite many people who have understood that interest is destructive and not very useful in a way.
Okay.
And this is maybe the second point you need to understand. And that is, how is interest paid? Most people think they pay interest only when they borrow money. But in fact, it is in every price we pay.
Yeah.
And here are three public prices that everybody needs, basically. That is garbage collection, and that's only 12%. With drinking water, it's already 38%.
Okay.
And in public housing in Germany, it's 77% interest. Because we calculate that an apartment will last over 100 years.
Yes.
And after maybe 20 to 30 years, when the interest is paid off on the loan, nobody ever reduces their rent.
No.
So you pay it over 100 years. So this is how it adds up to 77%. And on the average, we pay about 40% interest in all the prices of our goods and services that we need to live. So then the last, and this is probably the most important explanation, is why do we have this incredible pressure on the economy, on this growth mechanism? Why does everybody talk about growth all the time?
Yes.
Because that is, for most people, it's difficult to understand that there are different types of growth.
Yes, we measure growth in it's money growth. We're always looking at the way money grows.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
what we don't understand that there is something like natural growth, and that is the growth that every animal, human being, every plant follows. And at an optimal size, we all stop growing. You know, in Germany we say trees don't grow into heaven. Well, you know that on Iceland it's not so important because you don't have so many trees here. But it is saying that everything will stop growing sooner or later. Well, that is wrong, because there's one system that can grow forever, because it's totally fictional, and that's our money system. And that is the exponential growth. That's the red curves there.
Yes.
The J curve, which grows, which is a doubling growth, and that is at 1% interest, money doubles in 72 years. At 3% it doubles in 24 years, at 6% in 12, and at 12% in 6 years.
Yes.
So we see that the higher the interest, the faster the growth. And what is happening is, if the green curve would, let's say, be the normal economy growing after a war, like in Germany, first very fast and then at a certain optimal size stabilizing, but money keeps on growing, then there is a point when the money curve cuts through the real economy curve, and where the real economy can't produce the kinds of gains anymore that are expected from the interest system.
Yes, yes.
And so since the 1980s, our monetary assets and our real assets are growing further and further apart. And that is something no economist has resolved or even looked at, and which is publicly discussed. We all know that from that point on, where the real assets are not growing anymore, the only way to achieve this growth expected in the money sphere is through speculation.
Yes.
And so this is why we have more and more speculation and less real assets to cover it. And then there is another exponential growth curve in the assets that is between 50 and 95 non-monetary assets, growing exponentially up to 400 times. The gross national product only growing 140 times, and the real wages and salaries of people actually going down since the 1980s. Now, the important point about this is you have to imagine that the other side, every asset is covered by a debt.
Yes.
The same amount of debt.
Always
so
debt.
you have exponential growth in the debt as well.
Yes.
And it is not a scissor that goes apart, which is straight lines, but it is, you know, the exponential lines going into the debt and into the assets. And all of our finance ministers say we have to reduce our debt. But what they don't say is when we reduce our debt, we also reduce our assets.
Yes.
That is, no, you always only get half the truth on TV.
Yes.
And this is the inflation, which always follows the interest system. And in Germany, for instance, which was the most stable currency in the world, we lost in 50 years, from 1950 to 2001, we lost 80% of its value. This was in the United States, the dollar was worth 6%.
Yes.
And now, since we went into the euro, we only have half the amount of value today. Since the euro came into being, up to now, it has lost 50% in 11 years.
Yes.
You see, so it's getting faster and faster.
Yeah.
And then maybe the real eye-opener was this to me when I discovered what money does, because this really shows, these are figures by the Bank of International Settlements in Basel. This shows the monetary transactions which have gone up excessively, I mean, like also exponentially. And the little dell in the middle there is the time when the euro came into being. But if you connect this high point with the high point above, then you see that monetary transactions have grown just in exactly the same way. And that little green line underneath shows all that is necessary in monetary transactions to pay for all the real goods and services.
To sell oranges. And
yes, oranges, including tourism.
Including tourism, okay. Yeah.